am in Atlanta, Georgia. I am really passionate about helping people figure out what their purpose is, what their passions are, what their core values are, and how we can use our core values and use our passions and our gifts to bring them to the world. Um, I'm also really passionate about sexuality education and especially for Black women in um, owning your sexuality helps you own everything else in your life. And I want to bring education and safe spaces for conversations for Black women.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. And then next is Indigo. But I think she just got in the group. I'll skip over. Oh, okay.
Hey, sorry about that. I was just struggling to get off mute there. Thanks. So, hi everyone. My name is Indigo. I am in Syracuse, Utah at the moment. I am passionate about rugby and playing rugby, and specifically women's rugby, the empowerment that the sport gives you as a young woman, and much like any other sports. I am also interested in getting into real estate, as in like investment properties and stuff like that. I haven't really ventured too far into it. I'm still doing some research about it and everything, but that's kind of what I want to get into. And I'm also really passionate about the movements that are going on and just racial inequality in general, as well as other inequalities. So I'm very grateful for the group and looking forward to learning from everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. And then next, on here, your name says King. So, King, if you want to go next.
My first name, King is my middle name and everything. My first name is actually Devontae, but it's just something that I go by and everything. So, yeah. So my passion is fashion. I have my own clothing lines called Forever Loyal Apparel. Ryan has a few items and everything from me, and I know that he's tried to get you to get some stuff every once in a while. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much what I do for on my passion side and stuff. I'm just trying to impact the community with affordability and high quality. So that's pretty much what I do with that. And I pretty much have sales and giveaways and everything once a month at least, just because everybody is in their own tax bracket and stuff. So you want to be able to appeal to the masses for the most part. The progressive movements I'm currently doing, just pretty much is helping to help this with. I do something for the homeless at least once or twice a month. I don't post anything about it just because, we as people. I ain't gonna say we as people, but for most people, they don't want to. They like if you're helpless at the moment, you don't want a camera always in your face and nothing like that. So I try my best and I make sure everybody around me don't pull their phone off, or unless it's it's specifically you texting or calling somebody back kind of thing or stuff like that. But you don't want no camera in your face whenever you out here, you hungry or something, or you need some clothes or something like that. It's like that's not what it's really for. So that's something I do on my spare time as well. And then with everything going on, I definitely try to help as many of our people as we can, just because don't nobody got us like we got us, which is sad to say, but it's the truth. So with any and everything with y'all, just like whatever y'all need, I just believe I'll do my best to help y'all out in any way, shape, or form. Just keep me updated and stuff on what it is that you're doing or whatnot. And I promise you, I got you. How would I like to be supported? Really, I don't really like asking people for anything. That's part of my problem myself. But I would just say just spreading the word about my business. That's all. Because if you either gonna like it or you're not, I'm not really big on the money thing or side like that. It's just I just wanted to be appreciated in the way that it is. So like I said, it's either you like it or you don't. Ain't really much I can do there on that part. And pretty much helping those that who are helpless. You know, if you're able to give away maybe a clothing item or make a sandwich, and you see that same homeless person on the street every day, make an extra sandwich for the day. Just give him a sandwich, like, hey, you know, God bless you in whatever way that He can, you know, and that's pretty much it. That's the only way I would really say to that y'all can really help me out on my side.
Nice. I definitely like that. Okay, Ryan, you're next.
All right, my name is Ryan Gurnell. I'm actually Cassie's little brother, and I have on one of Devontae's shirts right now, his America shirt. You can see it's clean. My passion, I have a few. I would say mental health awareness, especially within the African American community, because we're underserved in that aspect. Art, I would say, art is my strongest passion. I'm a graphic artist, and I've definitely steered my art in the direction of racial awareness recently. And I would say, lastly, youth, specifically Black youth, because I think that's the generation that will take the biggest strides in closing the gap in racial inequality. That's it as far as my passions.
Gotcha. It's good stuff. So I'm trying not to say it out loud, but I'm like, yeah, I can see why mom was trying to get you to be the next doctor of the family, because you sound kind of just like
It's not.
is her. Okay. Next is Shanice, and then after her, I think it's Keith.
Hey guys, I'm Shanice. This is Jaden. He is a 2-year-old and he loves to sit on my lap, so you guys will see him popping in and out of camera view. But yeah, I'm in Houston, Texas right now. I was born and raised in Roswell, New Mexico, super small town. And I moved here for college, and I've been here about 9 years, going on 10 years now, so love in Houston. As far as things that I'm passionate about sports and working with kids. I currently work at a charter school called the International Leadership of Texas, and there I just took on a coordinator position, so I will be over the athletic department and working with all the coaches on our staff. And I really am passionate about working with kids. The demographics at our school are a bit tough, and we have a lot of kids that just need help. And I have a servant's heart, and I love to help in any way I can. So being there to educate the students and also just help them in any way I can is what I'm very passionate about. I am trying to get a small business started. I actually love clothing, so I would love to get like a sports brand started for especially women. I feel like we're curvy and we need things to fit us appropriately when we're working out. So I want to get things going with that pretty soon. I'm just starting really small right now with headbands and masks and things like that can help people out, but hopefully that'll get going soon. As far as the movement goes, I'm here to learn. I'm here to help educate. I think that's the biggest reason why we see inequality in the world is because people aren't educated. And I think we can learn a lot from other people's experiences and stories. So I'm really looking forward to this group. I'm looking forward to learning from everyone and hearing your experiences and being able to spread that knowledge to others.
Nice. And for Shanice and Devontae, when I start competing again, I definitely want to try to wear your apparel. Like, nice. I'm serious about that. And then I think the last person is Keith, but I don't know if he is still in here. I think he accidentally dropped out. We're gonna keep going. If he comes back in, then I'll have him introduce himself. Okay, So next, so one of my friends said it would be good to do a read the room, and basically, like I'm gonna do this kind of like in a fast way. She kind of wanted to, she thought it would be really important to kind of get an understanding of where everyone stands when it comes to the phrase Black Lives Matter. In a sense that, do you feel like it supports you, or do you feel like you support, you know, the movement as a whole? And we don't everyone doesn't have to answer the question, like if they do support the movement, but if they don't support it, or they feel like it doesn't support them fully as a whole, I would be interested in hearing that perspective. If anyone has kind of like a unique perspective when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, cool. I'll just go first and say this. In the last discussion, some people were talking about how they might not agree with everything that's being done with it, just for the sake of like, hey, is it being used as a way to support the Democratic Party, or is it really like, you know, Black Lives Matter, and where does the money go to? It was a discussion kind of like that. But in general, I think from the last discussion, everyone supported the words Black Lives Matter. All right, if no one has anything to say about that, then we'll move.
I'll say
Okay.
I stand in a similar place. I don't really know too much about the organization itself. Like I couldn't tell you who founded it or anything like that, but I feel like the words Black Lives Matter shouldn't be debatable. It shouldn't be something that sparks outrage or debate among people. It should be factual. It should be taken as a fact that Black Lives Matter, and that's how I take it. I take it at face value. It's just a factual statement. At times it's a battle cry. At times it's hope to hold on to. Because the way we're treated, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that, hey, we matter. Our opinions matter. Our passions matter. Our art matters, you know? So I take it as that.
Nice, I agree. And then Indigo, I don't know if, I've never seen anyone use that, but like someone raised their hand.
Oh, I just didn't want to jump in over someone if someone else had something to say, you know?
Gotcha.
I didn't used to feel like Black Lives Matter covered me, because I'm mixed and I had, you know, some issues growing up where it was like I'm not Black enough for one side and I'm not white enough for another side, you know, but those were kids. And so over time, I've come to learn more with those words, Black Lives Matter. Personally, I don't think it should be affiliated with any specific, you know, political party, but I do understand why it's kind of associated with more Democratic Party members and things like that. But that's my 2 cents. And, you know, I didn't used to feel that way, but I do definitely identify and agree that the words are true. Black Lives Matter too. And it's definitely something that, you know, everyone should be concerned with. Realize that it does cover me, and it covers other people in many ways too. So,
nice.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing that. And there was someone, again, in the last discussion that shared the same thing that you said about feeling like they were either too white or too Black in different environments. And it's interesting because you hear that about people feeling like that are mixed, but the person that expressed this in the last video, she's dark skinned and also an academy grad. And so it was interesting to know that we're getting it at all different levels from all different colors of our race. And then King, I think you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it is kind of hard trying not to over talk to somebody like you don't know what to do. But nah, definitely, I agree with like with both of y'all saying and stuff. But the the Black Lives Matter, the phrase and everything, just kind of a lot what Ryan said and everything. It's like it's more of a statement to let you know of like what we're going through and everything. It's like now the best thing that's came out of this so far is that like everybody can see what's really going on. It's like I feel like a lot of stuff has been like like not compromised, but like it's been put small because it's like it's only been standing between us. But now it's like now the world knows in a way. It's like it's crazy that like now that we can see it's like from 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 New York all the way to Australia. It's like people still out here protesting, still showing the love of and appreciation of us, which is like it's always been so hard because we ain't never had enough people to talk for us, to speak up for us. Nobody like you've been knowing this Hispanic white guy, all these people for 20 plus years, but when it comes to the time, it's like now you finally speaking. Is it? But the only thing I wonder is like, is it? Do they feel the pressure, or is it like they actually care? And there's some who don't care what time of the year it is, how long they know you. They could have known you for 2 days, and they like, no, I got you. Like we're the exact same, but they understand like their privilege and everything. But it's finally understandable of what's really going on. The only bad thing I really have about the Black Lives Matter movement is the money part, because I mean I've done my own research and everything, how it's a lot of it actually, especially like on the Black Lives Matter, that particular website and everything, a lot of it's going to the political parties and everything, and some of it you don't really know where it's going to. So my only advice is to, if you're gonna donate your money and everything, donate it local or do research behind where you donate your money to. Because you don't have to, it can be to another big corporation and everything, but just make sure like your money is actually doing something to affect in a way. And that's
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I have something to say unless anyone else has something to say after that.
I just wanted to add that I think it's important if we are, Black Lives Matter is so important. The movement is so important. And the support that we've seen, in the past couple weeks is just incredible. And we just have to remind ourselves that, like, if we're saying Black Lives Matter, that means all Black Lives Matter. And that means Black gay lives matter. That means Black trans lives matter. That means Black disabled lives matter. Even within the Black community, there are people who feel left out and not a part, and we have to rally around all of us. And, we all express so differently. We're all so unique. We all have such different experiences, and all of those experiences make, being Black awesome. And I think we need to make sure we're celebrating all of that as well.
I agree, 100%. And anybody else? Okay. I to go off of what and you say your first name is Devontae, right? There was a pastor who said that for some people they support the movement. We'll say for some people that are not a minority. Let me just say it straight out. Some white people that support the movement, they go back home or they go back to work, and then they're surrounded by people who don't. And so they get pushed back into like living the lifestyle as if they don't care because they're pressured into it. I thought that was an interesting point of view, trying to give highlight to the reason why one day somebody might support you so openly, but then the next they don't, because they've been peer pressured in a sense to not support anymore, or at least not support openly. Oh, can you guys hear me, or am I cutting out? Or can you put your thumbs up with you? If you can hear me clearly, okay. Because yeah, I've been having issues with Wi-Fi this morning. Someone just let me know it was cutting out. But anyway, that was the last thing. There was something else I was gonna say, but I forgot. But that was just something I thought was really interesting. And I also feel like some people are joining the movement because they feel the pressure, but as they feel the pressure, they're like slowly changing for the better. I've seen that. And I think the pressure is good because the systemic and systematic racism that's been going on in America, it has been enabled by the pressure that's put on people to make that system work. So that's one thing I could say that I like about the Black Lives Matter movement is it puts pressure on people, pressure that our community has felt from the America. It's now kind of being switched a little bit around where the Black Lives Matter movement is putting pressure on others. Okay. So unless anyone else has anything to say, I was gonna start us off with the first question. The last meeting, we kind of went back and forth between male and female, but the other guy that was in here, I think he dropped out for good, so we only got 2 guys. So we'll just go in whatever order, like, of anyone who wants to speak first. So the first question I have for you guys is, how do you think your mind and your habits are affected by systematic and systemic racism or overt racism? Just like, how do you think the way you look at other people within our community, how do you think that has, how do you think systematic and systemic racism affects the way you look at other people in our community? That's the question.
Within our community, I would say it's within Black people in general, you know, it's we kind of have our own little right. I ain't gonna say it's racism, but it's like a privilege in a way. Being like, you know, on the darker side and everything of everybody and stuff. Like, I know some of y'all can relate. Like, just growing up, it's like you were treated different in a way than from like your light skinned friend or your light brown friend and everything, just because, you know, you're darker and everything. So that's like the only problem that I have had, like, I'm gonna say in the past. More today, it's more we all show love to each other, at least the people that I'm around, no matter what color you are and everything, you know. So we all show love and support to each other, no matter what it is or what you're doing or whatnot. So, but the systematic racism within our community is also it's kind of biased on we as a generation has been going on the who has the most clout in a way, so that if that person doesn't have clout, it's like they're not as supported for whatever they're doing. They can just be cleaning up something off the street once a week, but it's like it's not nobody around them in any way. So it's like it just keeps getting put to the back burner. But luckily for that person who's ever doing that, it's like they can, as long as they continue to do it, you know what I'm saying, somebody's going to notice, and all they pretty much waiting for is just more help in whatever that they're doing. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Cool.
I had to do a lot of work, and I think I still probably am, unlearning the idea of like being the respectable Black person. Like, you know, my grandparents grew up in a time of like, in order to be accepted in any kind of way or to be let in somewhere, you had to kind of align with whiteness almost. Like, you had to behave a certain way, speak a certain way, you know, wear your hair a certain way, And I think unlearning that Black people are like so expressive and so different in that expression, and that just, you know, just because someone doesn't fit into that that box, I guess, is, I can't think of another word for it, but that's okay too. Like, you don't have to behave a certain way in order to be accepted as a Black person in any place, in any community. Like, you as you are, however you are, and all those tropes that come along with it, like being the angry Black woman or being loud or being just whatever, all of those things that I'm sure we're all familiar with. Those don't mean anything really in terms of a person deserving respect and a person deserving to live their life how they choose.
I agree 100%. I'll speak on that after everyone else goes.
Just to piggyback off of what Alexis said, like growing up in a small town in Roswell, New Mexico, it was predominantly white and Hispanic. And so, I mean, you could count on two hands how many Black people were at my high school. And so I felt like growing up, I wanted to change the way I looked. I wanted to fit in with everyone else. So my hair was curly and big, and I wanted my hair straightened all the time because that's what I seen all the time. And when I did wear my hair out and curly, everyone's like, oh, you got an afro, or they're constantly touching it, or, you know, so it was like you were always the oddball out and you're doing everything you can to fit in. And it's like, I really didn't feel comfortable with myself and who I was until I actually moved to Houston. And I started seeing everyone wearing their hair out, wearing braids, just being themselves, you know? So it took me literally until I got into college to start wearing my hair out curly and being proud of it. So that's just an experience for me that kind of taught me, like, be proud of who you are. You know, you don't have to change who you are for anybody.
Man, I have a lot to say on both of y'all's notes. And then I think it's Ryan and Indigo. Maybe. Okay.
I'm gonna kind of stick with that same theme. There's more than one way to be Black. There's not one, I guess, mold. We're not all the same. We're not monolithic. And I feel like for so long we were depicted in one way. So Black people felt like they had to be this one specific way. But what I'm loving now, people are being themselves. Like, people may speak different dialects, different accents. You may like different music, but at the end of the day, you're still Black, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's all I have to say on it.
And I don't want to, repeat too much of what everyone else says, because I definitely identify with everything that y'all have said. And for me, it's been like understanding intersectionalities, and again, that, you know, Black people are not monolithic. And you know, currently I'm living in Utah. I'm from Arizona, so I grew up in a similar way to, I think it was Shanice, where I was surrounded by predominantly Hispanics and always wanted my hair straight, or wanted to, you know, fit in with these different groups, and just had really struggled to find my identity. And even in college, struggling because it was a predominantly white school. And, you know, that wasn't necessarily the most helpful on my journey, but what was really helpful for me was just like seeing people go through their transformations, and their self-love, and being like, that's where I want to be in life. And then, you know, growing up with like white family members, even sending me videos or sending me messages about stuff that I'm posting on Facebook in relation to current events, and just really not wanting to understand because if our lives matter too, then everyone else's life matters that much more. And, you know, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Is I didn't used to identify with it as much, and over time I've come to realize, like, getting at the systematic and systemic racism They helped instill it in me. My family did, and maybe not because they were being malicious, but they did. So, you know, having those people try to confront me about it, and me telling them, you need to stop. That's been something that's really changed me, and understanding, like, you know, this is who I am, this is what I care about, and if you can't get with it, then you don't need to be here. And it's not always the best outcome emotionally or whatever, but it's also, you know, trying to unlearn everything that those people taught me, and also help the ones that are open to learn as we go, because I care about them. And then friends, everything you guys said. Thanks.
Well, thank you. That was powerful. And the reason why I say that is you spoke on, like, I mean, we've all spoken on like an individual level of how we're affected, but I love the way that you word it, because no matter race or ethnicity, there's a point in time where you grow. I don't want to say grow past. You grow up and you learn your identity, and then you find out people within your family that can't understand or can't support or like just can't jive with who you're becoming and who you're supposed to become. And the last part that I'm trying to put on there is, like, without racism, we already have to do that. So then add racism onto that, and it's like a whole nother like hardship, especially within the family, to try to grow and become who you're supposed to be, when people within your family that are supposed to support you don't understand where you're coming from. That's really hard. So I'm glad that you eloquently put those words together for, I hope people outside of this discussion who might watch will like understand how hard that is. I also wanted to hit on what everyone said about we're all different. And I was watching another video where someone said they were raised in Germany. They were kind of like an army brat, and they hung out with different ethnicities, didn't really recognize how different the color of their skin was, wasn't told how to act as a Black person while he was in Germany, and then he moved to the United States, and then he watched BET, and then started seeing like, oh, like that's how Black people are supposed to act. So like going down to just to everything that we see, and all of the laws, just everything, how we're taught to think about ourselves and how we're supposed to act or whatever, like it's really deep or whatever. And so that's why I had said that I kind of don't like the Black card revoked phrase anymore, because I don't mind if anyone says it. It's more of I evolved as a person where if someone said it to me, I was like, oh no, I'm Black. Like I experience America the same way, it's similar to how all other Blacks in America experience America. So don't ever tell me or tell anybody around me that their Black card is revoked when we're all facing different things and we're different people. We should not be put in one lane. So I agree with everything you guys are saying. So unless anyone else has anything to say on that topic, I can move on to the next question. Okay, so the next question is, how do you feel you can be supported by the Black community in a kind of like in an intimate way when you think about like when you're going through hardship, and let's say you don't know somebody, or you're walking past another Black person down the street, or you might know someone as like an acquaintance or a coworker. Like, what do you feel like would be helpful to you if somebody else in the Black community, I don't know, could lend you some type of support or encouragement from an acquaintance and friendship type of level, if that makes sense. And also, on the other hand, what do you think you can do to be that person to lend help or support to other Black people in the community? Yeah. That's a long question, but.
I'm going to take it to an even smaller level than that. I think something is minuscule is just acknowledging one another as Black people when we're out in public, when we cross paths, just smiling, speaking, acknowledging each other instead of mean mugging or just straight up ignoring each other when we see each other in public. I think that goes a long way. I was never a person to smile a whole lot growing up. You would know that, Cassie. But recently I've made it a point, especially when I pass other Black people, to smile and acknowledge them, because so often we're either overlooked or met with a dirty look. So I think that's really important for us to start doing something as simple as that, just to create positivity among one another.
I agree.
I think it's important. One thing I try to do is to remind my friends to rest. I think rest is like revolutionary. You know, being Black in America is the idea that you've got to work so much harder than everybody else. There's so many more obstacles just in your daily life, and taking the time to say no, like, my body, my mind, my spirit is important, and I'm gonna take a nap. I'm gonna rest. I'm not going to just constantly be grinding. Especially the masculine people in my life, I have to always remind them, like, hey, you know, you're working so hard. When was the last time you took a day off? When was the last time you took a nap? I think that's so important. And doing joy, like literally just doing, as Black people, doing things that bring us joy, doing things that make us laugh. Like, Black people laughing is the best thing ever. I don't know if y'all saw the like video compilation, but that just like made my day so much. Like there's so much joy, and I think I want to be a reminder that like those things are important also. The fight, the resistance is, we got to do it, but we also have to rest, and we also have to feel joy in order to keep going.
Thank you, Alexa.
Can I just add really quickly? I also think supporting Black business is a big thing that we could all do better on. I know it's hard because I know for us in particular, like we've really been trying to focus on it, just because in this time in particular, we need to support each other. We need to be there for each other. And we have kind of made an effort, a little extra more than usual. And I hope that, in my family at least, I hope that we can continue that, because these businesses may be hurting at this time due to COVID and all of this. And we need to be the ones to bring each other back up and rise above everyone else. So supporting Black businesses for sure.
Anyone else? Okay. To piggyback on what all of y'all said, for my answer, the one thing that I noticed that I've at least experienced since I've been at the academy, I don't think I've ever experienced it before college, but after college, that I feel like the Black community at the professional level has gotten really good at code switching, to the point where it takes us a while sometimes to be able to tell if someone is just code switching in front of us, or, you know, do they really care about the Black community or not? Because I remember in college, and I think in both of my the jobs that I've been in after college, it especially when it came to getting to know men, I learned much further down the road how much they, you know, not only need support in a sense, but also what they're going through mentally that really keeps them in this lane where they don't really show themselves to people, especially in the workplace. I don't think all of us really, you know, show ourselves 100% in the workplace, but even out of the workplace, we'll hold this space or whatever until something like what's happening today, where you have to talk about Black Lives Matter, and then you finally hear how passionate they are about it, but you would have never known had the opportunity not come up. And so for me, I've learned that I have to understand that the way Black women react and the way Black men might react to what's going on is totally different, because we're both facing sort of a similar but like completely different battle, or different different ammunition is being thrown at us. So we're kind of fighting a different battle. Oh gosh, can you guys still hear me? Okay, because it said the connection was unstable. Okay, so that's one thing. And then also I think a better way to uplift people is, along with saying hi, giving compliments, and us not over sexualizing each other, where like if a Black man gives you a compliment, it doesn't mean he likes you. And if a Black woman like gives you a compliment, it doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't mean that she's, and I won't say just compliment. There's a lot of times where Black women are trying to be themselves, but then they get over sexualized, and then people assume that you know, that all they want is sex or something like that, or all they want is a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. Like we do this thing where we kind of judge each other at the beginning of getting to know each other sometimes, that I think we have to learn how to stop doing. So I think as Black women, we've been raised to protect ourselves, but I think we also need to learn how to accept compliments, not catcalls per se, but like just accept compliments. And with the Black businesses, I think there should be something like a Black Yelp. I'm pretty sure there might be something out there already created, but it is not. One day I'm probably gonna just go ahead and create that. That way it's like, it's easy. It's a lot easier to look up and support a Black business. Okay. Okay, so unless anyone else has anything to say, we can move on to the next question, or if anyone has a question they want to ask the group, we can do that too. Okay. Okay, so I will ask the next question. What have you personally experienced, whether it was overt racism or something where you felt like it was racism but you weren't sure, so you just left it alone? And once you kind of identified that it was racism, how did you react to it? What did you do to get through it? And I know we experience a lot in America, but I guess pick one. Pick one. Yeah.
I'll go first. I mean, I've experienced it here in America as well, but in particular, one experience that stands out is when I was overseas playing professional basketball. I was in Romania at the time, and a lot of times you would be walking down the street and see what they called their gypsies, or people that weren't, you know, lived on the streets or things like that, homeless people. And so a few of my Black teammates and myself were standing waiting at a bus stop, and we had several gypsy like children run up to us and start making monkey noises at us and actually saying the N-word. to us. So it was very, for one, it's hard because they were kids. So at that point, it's like, we're adults, what can we do? You know, they're kids. Another thing is they don't speak our language, at least we thought. They knew the N-word, but they don't understand English, so you couldn't say much back to them. So it was kind of just one of those things like, okay, get away. We had to just shoo it off, you know? So that in particular was one of the things that was hard to hold back because I had a lot of words that I wanted to say, but at the same time, they were kids. But it just was crazy to me that they don't speak a whole lot of English, but they knew and were able to identify, like, these are Black people. This is what we need to do, you know, call them, or this is what needs to be done in front of them. And it was just crazy to me that they knew that and understood that, but they didn't speak the language, you know? So that was a tough situation, and we had to deal with that several times while we were there. But like I've said, I've dealt with it here in America as well, where you walk into a store, my family and I, and store owners are telling their workers, watch them as they're walking through the store, you know? So it's things that we shouldn't have to deal with, but we do, and people don't understand it until they go through it, that's for sure.
All right.
I'll go. I think this happened last year. A coworker, she's not a coworker anymore, but at the time, and I'm 5 foot tall, so I'm a fairly small person, and she just kept like patting me and like touching my hair, and she finally just asked me, does your hair grow? And it took me aback a little bit because it took me a minute to even like understand what she was trying to ask me, because I'm a human being. So like, of course, you know, like, you know, even most mammals, you know, they have hair that grows, and it just threw me off so much. And I work with majority white people. So I remember like being kind of in shock and looking around like, who can I even share this experience with right now that I'm not going to have to explain or defend? Like, I just wanted somebody to understand like the audacity of this girl and what she said. And the situation worked itself out. My manager, who is a white woman, was having none of it, and she called her in and told her about herself, and, you know, told her like, this is not how we treat each other. This is not what we do. You know, so it was a hard experience, but I also, like, on the other side, had white people who did show up for me, which doesn't always happen. So, yeah.
That's good. I just wrote down some stuff I'm gonna bring up later after hearing that.
So I'll go next. The hard part of which Alexis was saying is that sometimes, you know, like we as Black people, we can't really speak up all the way because it's like, oh, they snapping. Like, no, that's not what I'm really trying to say. It's like, it's literally just the principle of what's going on. So, but even if we like, you trying to give like your opinion, it's like, they mad. It's like, no, I'm just giving you what I'm trying to say. So I don't want you to take it. I want you to take it and grasp and understand exactly what I'm saying, but I'm not angry. I'm not snapping at you. I'm just giving you what's wrong and what's right. But for my racism, it kind of happens honestly pretty, I ain't gonna say it's too often, but like I drive a certain kind of car and everything, so it's like the first thing that happens every time I've been pulled over since I've driven that car is where the drugs at, where the guns at, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, first of all, I got a college degree, bachelor's degree. I don't do drugs. I don't got no guns. So why is that the first thing you think of just because of the car that I'm driving? Then I got a clean record. So whenever you pull up, I know you looked at my license plate and everything. You see everything's intact. So it's nothing. This is not nobody's going to my car. Nothing is wrong with anything that I'm doing. I know and don't get me wrong, sometimes, just like like the average person, you don't use your blinker all the time and all that kind of stuff, especially out here in Houston. So it's like that's just the way that's kind of like it is out here in a way. It's like you just don't do all the stuff all the time. That's just what it is. But and then a lot of like as a recent events with the whole George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, which we still need to find her murderers and everything. We'll get them convicted rather. People at my job have like I work with a lot of white people as well, so they have their own opinions of like why are we protesting or why everybody's so angry and stuff. It's like you only can say it so many times without getting mad in any way, because it's like it's really infuriating as in like how don't you what don't you understand of like what's going on, what's not making sense. So I have like some older white gentlemen and everything who they're used to their ways, so it's like he shouldn't have did this, he shouldn't have resisted, or he shouldn't have. It's like how can somebody resist when they got a knee in their back? You know what I'm saying? Or how is it okay that somebody breaks into my house in the middle of me sleeping? How can I react enough to be like, oh no, it's okay? And that's happened multiple times, even with Rashard and everything too. So it's literally just the racism. Some white people don't understand. I'm not even just on white people, because there's really a lot of different people that are against us for no reason. Because I know we as a whole, ironically, it's like I truly believe in that there is no way really black people can be really racist just because of everything that we have been through and throughout our time. And don't get me wrong, you can. I guess I'm kind of going against what I just said, but like,
I mean, by definition, they can't be, but I mean, by definition, we can't be, but we can have like our prejudices and our stereotypes. Yeah.
Exactly. So with that though, it's just we get hated by so many different other races and everything. It's like it literally makes no sense at all. Like I don't know about you, Ryan, but at HBU sometimes at the like walking on the sidewalk against like and then no matter where you walk in that school, like you can see a person walking from afar, so it's like okay, like you not nothing. You got most time at school, I always have my headphones in, so I'm not doing nothing. I'm not out here I'm just walking with my headphones, going to practice or class or whatever. And then why are you walking? And the sidewalk is huge. No matter pretty much almost every college campus that there is, like the sidewalks are big, so there's no point for you to walk all the way in the grass as soon as I get close to you. Like I'm like, it's like, damn, do I stink or something? Like something on me that I don't see, kind of thing. Like what is the purpose of you doing it? So that's just some of the stuff that I've dealt with personally. So there's a way to be everything to be fixed. It's just everybody being clear and understanding. Like I'm trying to show you as much love as you show me. I don't want no smoke. I don't want nothing. I'm happy to be alive as I hope that you are in a way.
I hear you on that one. See, anyone else? I think, is it Ryan and Indigo? If you have anything to say, I have like a whole bunch.
I'll say I've experienced racism just about every day of my life, but I've had two experiences that really spoke volumes to how America views me as a black man. The first of which was when I was only 12 years old. I had a kid threaten to get his dad's AR-15 and blow my head off because he thought I was staring at him. The teacher responded to that by having me removed from the classroom and sent to the AP's office to be disciplined. When I got there, it was the assistant principal and a police officer because they felt they needed extra force to deal with the threat that I was. The officer asked me if I was afraid of him. I told him I was not afraid of him. He pulled out his gun, he slammed it on the table. He said, "Are you afraid of me now?" I said, "No, sir, I'm not afraid of you." He picked up his gun. He put it maybe 3 or 4 inches away from my face. He said, "Are you afraid of me now?" I said, "No, sir, I'm not afraid of you." He said, "All right, you can go back to class." All the assistant principal had to say about it is, you have a place on this campus. You need to learn it and stay in that place. That was my first experience with racism. It kind of made me hard for a few years after that, but I realized that's just life in America for our people, because I've been hit with similar situations time and time again. The second situation was just a few years ago. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings in Memorial with some friends of mine. We ate, we paid our tabs. When we finished, I walked one of my friends to her car. We talked for a little while because I hadn't seen her in years because she had moved to New York. By the time I got to my car, there was a police officer screaming across the parking lot, blocked me in, and got in a defensive position with his hand on his gun. Was basically screaming at me, getting ready to arrest me because they knew I had been breaking into cars in the parking lot. And I was basically like, "Sir, that's ridiculous. I literally just walked out of Buffalo Wild Wings no more than 5 minutes ago. I walked my friend to my car, then I came to my car." But he was convinced. And the only thing that it kind of broke that is, luckily, one of my other friends, Greg, Greg Cassidy, he was sitting in his car next to me. Once he noticed Greg sitting there, he kind of lowered his posture. Then it went from, okay, I'm going to arrest this guy or do whatever I want to with this guy, to let me figure out why this guy's even on my side of town. He doesn't belong here. And he literally said to me, because I had on a North Shore shirt and I was in Memorial, he literally said to me, "You're a long way from home, ain't you, boy? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing in my neighborhood? You don't belong here. This isn't for you." And I mean, I laughed the whole way home that day. I laughed. That's all I could do. And it wasn't because I felt like it was funny. That's just how my body reacted to that stress, because it's just something that was so familiar, something that I've been hit with so many times that I couldn't do anything but laugh my whole way home.
And thank you for sharing that, because it's hearing stories like this from my brother that, like, it angers me, and then it makes me look into like what God wants me to do with my anger, to put it into action. I have so much to say. I want to ask Indigo first if you wanted to say something before I go into like what I was going to say.
Yeah, just real quick, I experienced racism since before I can remember, from like eating out at a restaurant, fast food restaurant, and there being skinheads there, and my mom's white, and calling her, the N-word lover, and pointing a gun at her and at our car as they're pulling away with me and other children in the car. And that's, it's awful, but I don't remember that. What I do remember, though, is like going through Border Patrol checkpoints and being asked 8, 9, 10 questions, taking up my time on an already long drive home. And, having a white friend in the car with me who was like, "Wow, they always just wave me through. I never get asked questions." And I'm like, "Well, I look Hispanic," or I fit the description of who they're looking for. And then I also wanted to add, like, traveling and living in different states and visiting different states. Alabama, people are still segregated there in many different ways. It may not be under Jim Crow laws, but it's still a thing. In Michigan as well. Going to a small town right off of Lake Michigan and knowing that, 5 miles away, there's a whole nother neighborhood. The one neighborhood is like super cute, quintessential kind of suburbia. And then right over a bridge, there's a Black neighborhood, and the neighborhood is run down. And, children are going to schools there that are broken down. They don't have windows in their classrooms, all kinds of stuff like that. Just not great situations, and that's due to systemic racism. So, you know, seeing those things and recognizing them, putting a name to them, has been my experience. And where I have had family members that don't support, I've also had family members that do support, and my mom is like number one in that category. And you know, having friends that, you know, identify and are white but are, you know, there for people and willing to stand up for people, and surrounding myself with those kind of people over time has been kind of my reaction to it, and really trying to make myself smarter on a lot of different things that we can do. And kind of like you asked, like, what does God want me to do about this stuff? Like, what can I do about this? What can I start to work towards? So thanks.
Thank you all for sharing that. And I'll just share my experience real quick, and then I'll like kind of share what God has told me to do with my anger. That was like a lot of lessons that have been eye-opening on what to do moving forward. For me growing up, it's like growing up in Texas, especially the city that we live in, it was so much, I can't even like remember everything. But I do remember when a girl didn't like my friend, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna start a KKK club, but oh, it's only against your friend. So she would constantly talk about this KKK club at school, harass my friend, which I was always there next to my friend. So it's pretty much like you're harassing both of us. But long story short, my friend got in trouble, and my friend got reprimanded, but not the girl who wanted to start a KKK club. In college, I don't know. I was always a person that, like, if anyone had something to say, I was ready to speak up. But there's been moments where people stepped in and spoke up before I would speak up, because they knew where I stood. So there's been multiple times where you hear people say the N-word. I was at the Pentagon, and someone decided to call one of my subordinates, then my whole entire office, the N-word, because he didn't get a special privilege. And because I wasn't there, and I heard about it like a few minutes later, like it could not get addressed the way that me and like my leadership wanted to address it, through equal opportunity. I will say, I've noticed how much Black women are put to work in the professional realm, with all the stories I hear with my Black female friends or whatever. There's this unsaid game where either the people you work for choose to not be incompetent, but kind of act incompetent for you to like kind of run around with your head chopped off type of thing. And I never could like pinpoint what it was, but I spoke to some other people recently and who said they've had that exact same experience. And I wouldn't say that those people the people at work are trying to do anything to harm you. I kind of look at it as systemic and systematic racism, in a sense that when you don't put the best people in the right job description, you're going to have a majority of people who don't know what they're doing in that job description, while you have people working under them who might be minorities that might, and when I say not me, but just anybody, I meet a lot of really intelligent people that are working for someone that doesn't understand what they're doing, and it just holds the nation back. And I've seen how it holds the nation back, and you see how it holds the organization back, and how it affects the Black women in those organizations. I wasn't really too clear on what that was, but yeah. Those are the only two I can think of now, but there's definitely been a lot more situations. Now, as for what God has told me, like what to do, he's taught me like anything that you feel like angry or passionate about or convicted about, and you're waiting for someone else to do it, like you should just do it yourself, and you should just start it yourself, and you should. It doesn't matter how long it takes or whether it's like not organized. Just the fact that you started it might inspire someone else to start it and move it and progress it forward. The other thing is, I recently saw someone said there's a difference between a peacemaker and a peace seeker, and what the church has taught most people in America to be is a peace seeker, where you don't want confrontation, so you don't have the hard discussions to progress America. So now you're saying it's peaceful because we're not fighting, while half the people in America might have internal turmoil, which means it's not true peace. You're seeking the surface level peace, and you're not being a peacemaker when you keep silent and you don't start the conversations. And I think that the Black community has kind of been oppressed in a way where they get tired of talking about it, so then they don't say anything about it, and now quote unquote white supremacists frame the narrative while we're quiet. So I think as much as we get tired of defending ourselves, I look at it as maybe we should like stray away from defending ourselves sometimes and just keep on stating the facts and the experiences that you've experienced within your life as a present. Because I've seen how that can kind of go a long way. And also the last thing that he kind of pointed out to me is mercy versus judgment. A lot of people think that, a lot of people will say, let God judge, and that is a fact. But when it comes to mercy, justice, and judgment, God does the judgment, he does the convicting. But when it comes to lending out mercy, like if someday in the future we switch roles or whatever, and it's majority Blacks and less whites, yes, it's right on our part to have mercy and not do to them what they did to us. But on the justice side, like God uses us as vessels to enact justice. And part of enacting justice is being the peacemakers. So we can't just like sit back and say God's gonna take care of justice, we're just gonna pray for it, because that's the same thing as passing by a homeless person and saying like, I'm gonna pray that they get a jacket, I'm gonna pray that they get some food or whatever. So yeah, when it comes to doing something, I just think that we all have something that God is convicting us about and making us angry and passionate about, that we can take an action and do something with. Whew, okay, that was, and I found out the Jews got reparations. I didn't know this, but there's a reparation program in Germany that's still giving reparations to Jews. Just throwing that out there. Thought that was interesting. Okay, so with that being said, we only have 10 minutes left. So I don't have any more questions, but if anyone else has any more comments, questions, please speak up, and then I'll close this out. Nobody?
I do got one. Appreciate you for this whole thing and everything. And I do know for a fact that, you know, y'all as Black women are the most disrespected women on this earth. So just to show y'all love and everything, you know, that y'all are very, very, very well appreciated. Y'all might not be appreciated by all, but y'all are appreciated by, I can't speak for all Black people, but most Black people, including myself, of course. But yeah, man, if like I said, and then that's a thing I also want to learn more about, and I guess get I don't know, but how else can I help impact y'all in certain ways? You know, just because y'all aren't ever really showing the appreciation that y'all need. It's just, okay, cool. Like, you know, it's just thrown to the back burner, which is messed up. So that is something, if y'all can speak on it now, if y'all know any ways and whatnot. But yeah, please tell me if you do.
I'll just say, one, I posted the first discussion on YouTube. I'm going to eventually send the links out where we answered that question. And I'm so glad you brought it up. And then two, my only answer is, one, like, keep going with the compliments. No matter how we react, like, trust me, we appreciate it. And if we don't, if you run into a Black woman that is closed off because of, you know, everything that's going on in her life, and she doesn't appreciate it, just know she'll learn to. So we appreciate the compliments and you guys noticing us. And also don't be afraid to really listen, like ask us how we're doing and listen, because I don't feel like there's a lot of men who do listen, but for some reason, because we experience stuff so often, we don't have the outlet to really express how we're feeling a lot or what we're going through a lot, because we don't get asked a lot. But that's my only thing.
I agree with those things, and I just want to add, when a Black woman or Black women are saying something, listen. Like I see so many times Black women are speaking up for something, and there's always kind of pushback or, well, trying to explain it away, or well this and well that, and was she this and was she that, and you know, it's especially I've seen it when it comes to like things like sexual assault. Like believe women, listen to women. When women's, like especially Black women, like when they're speaking, it's important, and their stories are important. And you know, if there's a kind of a reaction to push back or to question, maybe just take a second and be like, like, you know, bring curiosity to the situation and really try to figure out where she's coming from.
Anyone else? Well, I guess me and Alexis both said the same thing. Okay, cool. And Shanice is nodding her head, and Indigo is slightly smiling. Is there any way that Black women yeah, so reverse the question, is there anything that Black women can do to
kind of to piggyback on what y'all said, is just listen too, because just like y'all, a lot of people, I guess it's like a thing in the Black community, but we just hold stuff in. I know for myself, like I literally don't know how to really express my feelings when it comes to like myself. I can help everybody in the world every day, but then when it comes to me needing help or me needing to speak for myself, I can't. It takes like, it's like the world coming out of me. Like I really don't know how to do it. So it's like I can't even tell you like, oh yeah, how you like every day, like, oh, how your day was? It's good. It's gonna be better. I'm speaking to existence. That's just the way I am. You know, I believe in everything you say will become manifestation. So I'm gonna say like, oh, it's good. It was cool, or you know what I'm saying. But I guess just like how y'all said, lend that ear, because it's like y'all, some people just need somebody to talk to, and they don't want nothing from you or anything in no way, shape, or form. It's just somebody to talk to. It's like, damn, now I finally got somebody, like how y'all is like, nah, y'all finally got somebody to listen to you. Like that's all you ever wanted. You don't really need nothing else. You just really just want somebody to listen. It's like, that's it. I guess that's for the most part. I can say at least one thing. Ryan, I know you probably got something else to add on there.
Yeah, I'm gonna just piggyback off of you and say patience, because That's a common theme among Black men, not being able to properly express ourselves. I'm not gonna get into the reasoning of why that is, but that's definitely something we struggle with. We rather hold things in, keep to ourselves, give short one-word answers a lot of times. And I understand, as somebody who cares for us, somebody who cares about our well-being, that's probably frustrating, because you can see that there's an issue at times, and you know, we'd be better off if we just spoke on it, but we hold it in. And so I'd say just patience while we get ready to open up and about what we need to open up about.
Got it. So be ready to listen, basically, but don't force it, but be ready to listen.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Well, I almost want to ask you but anyway, okay. Since we are, 3 minutes away from the end, does anyone else have anything to say? If not, then I will start doing my little closing statement. Okay. This was like a really, really good discussion. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for everything that you said. If there's anything that you don't want posted, please email me like ASAP today, like right after this, or text me. My cell is in that email. Because I plan to hopefully post the video tonight or tomorrow morning. Also, hopefully you enjoyed it. And I almost want to ask you, like, you know, if you enjoyed it or if there's anything that you think should be done better before we get off of here. So I'm sorry, one last question. Is there anything that you feel like could have been done better, or did you enjoy it?
Speaking for myself, I definitely enjoyed this. Like I said in the beginning, for me, I always learn more when I hear other people's stories and their experiences. And I think educating each other, we can use what we've learned from each other and take that out there and educate others as well. So this was a very awesome idea. Thank you very much for having me. And thank you everyone for sharing your stories.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hey, I just want to echo the thank you for everyone being willing to share and be open. And I hope that we can stay connected and, you know, continue to work together on this and build each other up.
Thank you. And anyone?
Add something else, just like them, pretty much. Yeah, we appreciate you. I'm down to do it again. Just, you know, just keep me updated and stuff. But yeah, this was fun. It was very, 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 very like smooth and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Yes, I will be sending out emails. Just give it like a week or two. I'll be sending out a mass email with more dates for anyone who's interested again. And anyone else?
I'm going to follow up and say thank you as well. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Thank you, Cassie, for having the courage to actually do this. I know you've been talking about it for a little while. I'm glad you actually put it together and made it happen, because I think it's really beneficial and it's important for us as Black people in America to do things like this.
I agree. Thank you. All right. If it's no one else, oh man, it was just right there. I was gonna do a shout out to someone's business that they just put in the chat room, and then yeah, everybody put their, okay, cool. If you look at the chat room, everyone put their like Instagram handles and stuff in there. I'll try to like send that out in the email to all you guys as well, along with the link to this video. When I put something that God pointed out to me, that God uses men and women of valor to make change in history. And valor is basically men and women of courage. So whatever God's convicting you about moving on, have courage and just do it. because that's what's going to get us to where we are trying to go in America faster. And yeah. So anyway, okay. Thank you guys so much. Look out for my email with the video, hopefully within 24 hours, and have a wonderful day. So see you. See. Deuces.